On today's episode of the John Campea podcast, we're going to review the brand new Margot Robbie Barbie movie. Also, the Ant-Man 3 documentary that was supposed to come out last month finally came out on Disney+, and it does still have Jonathan Majors in it, but not as much as it was going to have. Also, remember when everybody said when Netflix was cracking down on password sharing that this would cost them a lot? Turns out it added over 6 million new subscribers. Also, Christopher Nolan is saying that he wants to do a James Bond movie, but only if he's completely in charge of it. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little offices, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world. Movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good things. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. Joining me in studio here is Ray Ora.
Hey.
We got Jonathan Voico.
Yo.
Chris Carr is off on vacation in London, so it's just the three of us in here today. But most importantly, you guys are here. And again, thank you so much for making the show part of your day. And here's how it's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics we just listed off. And then we're going to take questions from our YouTube channel members. We have a great group of supporters on our YouTube channel known as our YouTube channel members. And every day we ask them to submit to us topics and questions that they'd like to hear us discuss. And we get through as many of those as we can every day. All right. I'm going to let you guys know, too, a little bit of an announcement about tomorrow. I'm giving the guys the day off tomorrow so they can have a long weekend. But I am still going to do a John Campea show. It'll just be solo from my main office, so keep your guys' eyes open for that. Okay. With that down, let's get on to this. It was with great excitement and high anticipation and a lot of wearing pink that me, Ray, and our buddy Ryan went to go see Barbie last night. We went to go see Barbie.
Pink is the new black, Ray. You're
Pink
just
is the new
black.
black. I'll tell you what.
We didn't go to Buffalo Wild Wings and watch the game.
Nope. No,
Us three boys.
We went to a real man's movie.
We went to go see Barbie.
Went to go see Barbie. I'll tell you what. There was a lot of pink, man.
A lot of pink.
There was a lot. I mean, I got to tell you what. The way a lot of those people dressed up was pretty fun. There was a lot of people, including a lot of the guys, in full pink suits. We had like a bunch of girls dressed in the various classic Barbie outfits. There was a lot of pink there last night.
I ain't afraid to say it. I mean, there were so many fans of Barbie there that it actually got me more excited to see the movie. As you know, and it was like it wasn't. As soon as we started seeing like all the stuff in the front, like the balloons, you start getting hyped for it, no matter what it is, because I like seeing people get excited for something they love. It's like
it's one of the reasons why going to the movies is way better than watching movies at home, because you get that shared energy, that shared excitement about it, right? I was actually starting to feel underdressed.
Yeah.
When we saw everybody wearing pink, I was like, well, maybe I should have found something pink to wear. I don't know.
So I'm gonna warn everyone: if you see me with a turtle shell on my back, with an orange bandana around my eyes, don't make fun of me.
That's just Ray getting into the spirit of turtles coming.
Yeah. So, like, don't hate on me, because I didn't hate on you yesterday.
So, here's the thing. The movie currently holds an 89% critic rating, which is great. The initial reactions were sky high. It's got an audience rating now at least in the 90s, right? What was the last time I saw it?
94%.
94%.
Yeah, the critic rating. Yeah.
The critic rating was
I'm
89.
sorry, the audience rating, yes.
Yeah, the audience rating was like 94. Mm-hmm. So in we go. And, okay, so here's my general thoughts on it. It's a very good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie, man. It's a solid, good movie that is really not the movie you think it's going to be. I mean, it is a deeper existential examination of the experience of being a woman in today's times. And it's done on a very deep level. It's done on a very emotional level. It's done on a very honest level that actually when we walked out of theaters, me, Ray, and Ryan said, I just think there's a part of this movie that I can't appreciate as much because I'm not a woman. This is very much a movie about the experience of women, again, from a very deep and existential kind of perception. Now, that's not to say it was just all Dietrich philosophy discussions. There's a lot of funny in it too. It's a funny film.
I think it hit a little bit different with me only because, you know, my mom is from the, you know, in the Philippines, and there's a different way of life there for, especially for women. And, you know, I'm not saying that's wrong or right, whatever. Let's leave that out of it. It's just so I actually thought about her during this film, and that's why it hit me different. So, you know, there is a lot of points in this movie that they drive home, like drive home.
Yeah, they do.
And they do it in a good way, in a Barbie stylistic way, which was fun to see. You know what? This movie is a good movie.
Yeah, and listen, you guys heard a lot of people talking about that, you know, Ryan Gosling kind of steals the movie. Ryan Gosling steals the movie. Ryan Gosling is so good.
Simu Liu.
Simu Liu is good. America Ferrera is great in it. Margot Robbie obviously is fantastic as Barbie.
I was looking forward to seeing Kate McKinnon so much, but I think they underused her. I think she could have been a little bit more over. You know, I just felt,
I don't know. She was in it a lot for a secondary character because the movie's not about her.
Yeah.
So Kate McKinnon plays a character called Weird Barbie.
Yeah.
And she is great in it. Every moment she's on screen, she's really funny.
I just wish they went a little bit more bonkers, like SNL, like the Kate McKinnon that like became my favorite on SNL for the longest time. Like,
right, but she was not playing Kate McKinnon, right?
I know, no, but I meant like, you know, I thought she was the one that I had high hopes for, but I left with a appreciation for more of like Ryan Gosling. Even Will Ferrell was more funny to me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and Will Ferrell's not in a ton of the movie, which is Will Ferrell's good in it, actually quite effective, very good. But, you know, we were talking a bit earlier today, if they used him more in the movie, I think it would have tired itself out.
Yeah.
But he was in just the right amount of the movie. The movie is funny. Thanks a lot to the dynamic and the interaction between Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. They are fantastic together as Barbie and Ken. You know, and this is a really interesting thing too. I think a lot of people were worried about, well, not a lot of people. There was a certain demographic of people who were worried that this movie was going to be a man-bashing movie. And I think if you're an insecure little snowflake, maybe you might walk out with that. But as a man in there watching the movie, I never felt it all once. I mean, it made some fun. It made jokes. But I never once felt it all. Actually, there's a really good scene in the movie. I won't tell you the context. I won't tell you the setup of it at all. So it's not giving anything away. The definitive moment of the movie is not actually Margot Robbie. It's actually America Ferrera, where she gives this big exposition while talking to Barbie. And it's a lot about the female experience, right? It's all about the female experience, the difficulties of the female experience. And I thought once she started rolling on that, I thought, okay, if they're going to get into man bashing, this is where they're going to do it. And yet in this entire 2 to 3 minute exposition that she does, talking about the difficulties and the struggles of the female experience, never once mentions men. It's all about from the female perspective. And so I know, listen, whenever you're trying to talk about pro one thing, there is the temptation to make it about anti the other thing. Like there's some people who feel like you can't have a message that's pro something without it instinctively also being anti something else. And I never personally felt that in this movie. I felt it was just a very pro-female movie, an existential discussion about the struggles and the difficulties of the female experience. Again, I can't appreciate it as much as a woman would, but overall, I thought it was a really solid, fun, funny package. But I will say this, it's also kind of messy. Like I thought, number one, and you hear me say this about a lot of movies, but it really did apply here. The movie was too long. It didn't need to be as long as it was. There were some really good scenes that were stretched out too long, certain jokes that they overran with. So I walked out going, number one, this is a very good movie. Number two, it is a smart movie. Number three, it's a funny movie. But so I'm very pro this movie, but it ain't going to be in my top 10 favorite movies of the year.
That's where I'm surprised, John. It's because when I first got seated, I was like, oh, this is a 2-hour movie. I hope I don't feel the length. And when it ended, I was like, that's it? Oh,
really?
Like, I didn't feel the length of this movie, which is something I was very happy about, meaning it all flowed for me very well. Like,
yeah, because it is just under 2 hours, but it felt like a 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
Oh, no, not to me. Like, I actually was like, oh, when the Barbie logo came up, I was like, that's it. Oh, and it was the end of the movie, but I was just like, that didn't feel long at all. There was in our row on our right, there was some. It just sounded like some Barbie collectors. Not only that, but a group of like a mom, a daughter. From what I saw, they were reacting to like every toy,
every doll,
every toy, every iteration. Like, and it's great to hear that they hit.
Oh, and by the way, Michael Cera.
Yeah, he was great
as Alan, Ken's buddy, the short. Listen, there are Barbies in this movie that I had no idea existed, and like you're going, that's not a real thing, and then it's like, ding, yep, this was a real doll, and I'm like, they didn't do that.
That was
like,
so.
Oh my God! Again, it is a very, very funny film. Michael Cera again as Alan had a bigger role in this than I thought. I thought he was going to have like one or two quick little scenes, but he's in the movie more than I thought he would be.
Now I gotta think. Now I gotta think about the box office, because remember you brought it up what I said after we left. Even though I love the movie, I said this is probably a one and done movie for me, at least.
I think it's a one and done movie for me too.
Now I just want to know, like, the Barbie fans, do they feel the same way? Because like, I think it's one of those watches, and you let it sink in, the message, whatever, and then it's kind of like you try to go on into Oppenheimer or something like that. But I don't know if it's gonna have legs, this movie, to be honest.
Who knows? I mean, it really all depends on how big the opening weekend is. I'm going to be very curious to see. Look, the audience that was there last night was a very engaged audience.
Yes.
Two,
it was packed.
Energetic audience. And three, an appreciative audience. Because when the movie ended, there was applause in the theater. People seemed to be buzzing about us there. Again, most of the audience seemed to like it a little bit more than I did. But
it's an event film for sure.
It's definitely an event film, 100%. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of opening weekend it gets. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Disney Plus has this thing where when a big Marvel movie is done its theatrical run, come on Disney Plus, they put out a documentary about it, and it's called Assemble, right? So I think they do Ms. Marvel Assemble, and they do a documentary about the making of it. Well, they were supposed to release, they had advertised that they were putting out their Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Ant-Man 3, Assembled documentary last month. I think it was supposed to come out June 14th. And then all of a sudden, very quietly, June 14th came and went, and they never dropped it. They never put it out, which nobody had to be a rocket scientist to figure out this has something to do with Jonathan Majors. And are they taking Jonathan Majors out of it? Are they waiting to release until the Jonathan Majors thing is done and all that kind of stuff? Well, they finally put it out. Ant-Man, the making of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania Assembled has now come out, and it's not the iteration that it was before. At least that's what I'm being told. So I'm going to take this. This comes to us from Direct, who write the following. The documentary did include a roughly 5-minute section dedicated to Jonathan Majors' Kang, which included footage of He Who Remains variant from Loki, behind-the-scenes snippets from Quantumania, and interviews with the divisive actor. So, according to the story, they still do have Jonathan Majors in it. Now, that's interesting because in like the advertising for Creed 3, like for the video on demand and streaming for Creed 3, they took Jonathan Majors out of that entirely. Like the studio behind Creed 3 just took Jonathan Majors out. So a lot of people thought, including me, I suspected this too. Back in June, when Assembled never showed up, we thought, well, they're probably editing Jonathan Majors out. But they did leave him in at least for that 5 minutes. Now, the key thing, though, is that other than that 5 minutes, he's not in any of the rest of it. And apparently, like, you guys know how it goes, right? When they're talking about the different actors, right? They'll have other actors or the directors or whatever talking about that actor's performance. Oh, Paul Rudd is so great to work with, and Paul Rudd's so wonderful. Oh my gosh, getting to work with Michelle Pfeiffer is such a dream come true. Well, other than that one isolated 5-minute thing, All the other spots that Jonathan Majors was either discussed or appeared in was removed from Avengers. This is also coming from direct to write this. Although Kang was discussed and featured in the special, with Majors speaking on his MCU villain, the actor and his performance were not mentioned or praised by any of the movie's cast or crew. So what I made a call. What I got told was that, yes, they decided to leave Jonathan Majors in, but a bunch of the stuff either with Jonathan Majors or referencing Jonathan Majors was taken out, and that was part of the thing. Now, how true that is, only somebody from Disney can officially tell us that for sure, but at least that's what I was told. And so I think that gives us a little bit of an insight as to what their approach with Jonathan Majors is right now. Obviously, Jonathan Majors has his criminal trial starting up here in just a couple of weeks. He already made his first couple of court appearances. I think Marvel is taking this wait and see approach. So they're like, hey, we're not cutting ties with Jonathan Majors just yet. So there he is in the thing. But we are also hedging our bets a little bit. We don't want to have too much Jonathan Majors in it until we know what's going to go on. So they pulled back on a little bit. And honestly, while that's not what I thought they were going to do, it is probably the right move on their part right now, right? Because if this trial only goes like 2 weeks and the judge throws it out and says, hey, there's no truth to any of this, blah, 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 you don't want to have either burned your bridges with Jonathan Majors or burned your bridges with his fans, right? At the same time, if it turns out badly, and we have no idea here whether it's going to go one way or the other, we simply don't know. But if it goes badly, then you don't want to have Jonathan Majors' face plastered all over that piece of marketing. You know what I mean? So probably right now it seemed to be like the right approach. So what'll happen next? Are they keeping him as Kang moving forward? I think we got a lot to find out still. All right, guys, listen, we still are going to talk about this huge stuff coming out about Netflix. We're going to get to that. Also, Christopher Nolan saying he wants to do a James Bond movie, but only if it's totally on his terms. We're going to get to that stuff in just a second. But before we do, we're going to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile, and our good friends at Birddogs.
We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much-needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.
We want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, Birddogs. You know, as a guy, there's only two things that are important to me when it comes to fashion: looking good, and even more importantly, being comfortable. And that's where our sponsors, Birddogs, come to the rescue. Offering everything from pants like stretch khakis, joggers, and sweatpants, to shorts like gym shorts and swimsuits, and even great looking and comfortable polo shirts. Birddogs, like their stretch khaki shorts, are designed to fit slimmer through the thighs and legs, giving you a truly sculpted look. Birddogs shorts fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. You see, Birddogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And that's just one of the reasons that by wearing Birddogs, you're going to look good and, more importantly, feel good. So guys, go to birddogs.com/Campea for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/Campea for a free Yeti-style tumbler. Use code Campea. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. And thank you to our friends at Birddogs and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode. All right. with that down, guys, let's talk a little bit of Netflix here for a second, because there's a couple of really big, interesting things that have gone on in the last couple of days regarding Netflix. The first thing is this, and we should mention, is that, well, we're not that part, but the first thing we should mention, we'll get to that in a second. The first thing we're going to mention, though, is this. Now, you guys, of course, know in recent months, Netflix announced they were going to do this big crackdown on password sharing and all this kind of stuff. Now, around here, like me, Rob, Chris, we all said, like, hey, this makes sense. I mean, Netflix was not meant to be, oh, you pay for membership and just give the password to everybody. I mean, they didn't crack down on it for a while. They were like, hey, yeah, it's whatever. Go ahead and do that. But then they said, you know what? You should be paying for if you're going to use our service, you should be paying for our service. So they did this crackdown. Now, a lot of people were very angry about that. I guess when you've been getting something for free and that free thing gets taken away, some people get upset. But there's some people who were really, really upset by that. And a lot of people swore. They said, this is going to kill Netflix. This is going to backfire. Remember, we even showed some articles saying this move by Netflix is going to backfire. People are going to just unsubscribe and not use their service. And we were like, really? You think Netflix is worried about people who weren't paying for their service not using their service anymore?
Yeah.
But it has now come out. It's official now. Look at this. Netflix actually added 6 million subscribers after the password crackdown. Now, I've already had I've seen somebody on social media say, yeah, but how many subscribers did they lose? No. The overall grand total was their subscribers went up 6 million.
Yeah.
So even if 1 million people unsubscribe, that means 7 million must subscribe because their overall thing is 6 million added. And even if you want to say a mix of those signed up for the, as an additional member on somebody else's account, or signing up for the cheaper ad included, commercial included version, or the baseline $15 a month thing, even if you want to median those out, that equals an estimated $250 million a year in extra revenue for Netflix. So all due apologies to anybody who thought that this was a terrible move by Netflix and it's going to backfire and it's going to fly back in their face. Yeah, no, they're laughing all the way to the bank on this. And just, it just led to a lot more people sign up, making them more money. Now, that's the one thing. But that led me to reading an interesting article, which was that Netflix in Q2 made a profit of $1.8 billion. Now, juxtapose that against the Q2 earnings of Disney Plus, which showed it lost nearly $2 billion. Now, before you start thinking that means Netflix is doing it way better, don't forget, it took Netflix over a decade to become profitable. Like a decade in streaming for them to become profitable. Every year, they lost money every single year until just a few years ago. But now they're in a place, they made $1.8 billion. But I did some math. When I looked at the revenue they generated and how much of that was profit, I went, wait a minute. How much does it cost them to run Netflix? How much does it cost to operate Netflix? And I came into the studio here and I got these two guys, Jonathan and Ray, and I asked them, how much do you think it costs to operate Netflix on an annual? If you're Netflix, how much do you think your operating costs are a year? And Jonathan, I think you said something like 1.9 billion.
I said 1.5, and then I was like, that seems so low. I was going to go then 10. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Ray,
I said, don't talk to me, John.
Ray went higher.
Yeah.
Ray said like $3
billion.
$3 billion.
But even my adjusted.
Right.
Didn't matter.
Here's how much it costs to run Netflix. It's over $26 billion this year.
I was under half even with my adjustment. Last
year, 2022 was about 26 billion. This year is going to be a little bit over. Now, out of that 26 some odd billion dollars that it costs them just to run Netflix, about an estimated 20 billion of that is content. Between licensing content, producing content, all that kind of stuff there. Then they got a significant chunk goes to marketing. Then they got a significant chunk that goes to technology. Significant chunk just goes to the administration of the company. But 26, see, that's why when people go, well, wait a minute, how come Disney Plus is losing money? Because this is how expensive it is to run a global streaming network. A lot of people thought, oh, it can't cost anything. It costs. Guys, I nearly fell in my, wrap your heads around that. $26 billion per year. And guess what? This year, they're probably going to make around $7 billion in profit, even with a $26 billion operating cost. That is a pretty good return. Now, again, granted, it's taken them many years to get to this point, and the addition of 6 million new subscribers has certainly helped their case as well. But it's a good day to be Netflix. Well, it's a good week to be Netflix. Not a great day per se, because Netflix's stock report came out, and this was yesterday was June 19th, right? Yesterday at 3 p.m. or at 3:30 p.m. and one share of Netflix was $480. This morning, it was, Wednesday, the 19th, it dropped from the morning all the way down to $434 million. They lost nearly $50 a share in stock. Now that became off of lower than expected revenue, lower than expected something. Still, the numbers were very good, but lower than expected. Plus, there's a lot of anti-Netflix sentiment right now with the actor strike and the writer strike, because basically Netflix is the poster child villain in the SAG and WGA strikes right now. They're seen as, even amongst all the other studios, they're the biggest stickers. So there's a little bit of a backlash against that as well. So not a great day at the stock market for Netflix, but you know what? They're going to make $7 billion in profit this year.
Yeah.
I mean, these numbers are the types of numbers I can't even wrap my head around. I mean, it is just stupendously huge. But hey, actually, you know what? Proud to say, one of those brand new 6 million subscribers for Netflix. Right. Ray Ora has his own Netflix account now. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Ora.
Welcome to the family.
All grown up, got his own Netflix account now.
Yeah. I just decided one day, maybe I should be an adult.
One day, just woke up.
I gotta hand it to him too, because he didn't just like get his own Apple Plus, which is like $6. He didn't get his own. He did get his own most expensive streaming service out there.
And not even the $6 commercial include one. He got the real $15.
You know what?
Yeah, ad free.
As good as the Max and as good as the documentaries are on like Max when they decide to do them, Netflix has an abundance of everything.
Netflix has the biggest
they'll
library.
Probably have one on shoelaces. I don't know. I may want to watch that. They got a bunch of anime. I mean,
because you actually love documentaries.
It's huge on anime, and if you are into true crime specifically, whoa, Netflix is the key.
Yeah, so that was mainly what made me decide. I wanted to see that new Skull Island. Chris Carr keeps talking about the Godzilla stuff, but. So now I am Netflix.
So you've got some content.
Paramount Plus. What's my other Showtime, and Apple TV Plus. So I'm 4 in deep.
Well, you can cancel
just need Hulu.
Isn't Showtime the one where you can cancel it and just get Paramount Plus?
That's
isn't Showtime included with Paramount now?
Yeah. So, and I haven't done that yet.
You have Max though, right?
No, I don't have Max.
I would almost get rid of Showtime and do Max.
No, it's for the boxing. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Well, there you go, guys. $26 billion in operating costs. They made $1.8 billion in profit last quarter, and they added 6 million new subscribers as a result of the password crackdown. Looks like their strategy might be working over there. All right, guys, that down. Let's talk about this here. One of the ultimate film franchises in cinematic history, one of the most long-running and celebrated franchises is, of course, James Bond, right? And I have never heard, always when the discussion is around James Bond, it's always about who's the next Bond, who's the next Bond, who's the next Bond. It's not often who's going to direct the next Bond, but I have never heard more of an outcry for one specific director to direct Bond than I have for Christopher Nolan. For the last, it feels like 4 or 5 years, people have been asking for Christopher Nolan to do a James Bond film. And now, with the changing of the guard, as Daniel Craig has exited the role after a very successful run as James Bond. And they're getting ready to cast a new James Bond and start planning the next James Bond movie. Christopher Nolan, who, by the way, his movie Oppenheimer is opening tonight nationwide. We're going to go see it tonight as well.
I heard something about that.
Was once again, for the millionth time, asked about, hey, are you going to do a James Bond film? Now, he's always been very gracious, but he actually just said, we made a short video about this. It's up on the YouTube channel. He actually decided to fire a shot in the sky to send a message to the Broccoli family, who are in charge of James Bond and the IP, to MGM, which is the studio home of James Bond, and to Amazon, which owns MGM. And it was a two-pronged message. The message was, I want to do a James Bond. And if I do it, I'm in charge. This is the two comments that got said here. First, he talked about how he would be totally love to do it. He said this: the influence of those movies in my filmography, talking about the James Bond movies, the influence of those movies in my filmography is embarrassingly apparent. It would be an amazing privilege to do a James Bond movie, Nolan told the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast when asked about the Spy series. At the same time, he says, when you take on a character like that, you're working with a particular set of constraints. Now, what I mentioned in our video earlier today was that over the years, when a lot of people say, hey, can Christopher Nolan do a Marvel movie? Can he do a DC movie? Can he do a Star Wars movie? The big roadblock that has always been, I don't think Christopher Nolan wants to be told what he can and can't do. Christopher Nolan is now accustomed to, post-Batman, is accustomed to be able to create whatever world and whatever characters he wants, and do whatever he wants. And he has earned that position that he can do that. So I've always said, I have a hard time imagining that he'd be willing to walk into a Marvel situation where the final authority is Kevin Feige, or walk into a Star Wars situation where there's going to be a definitive list of things you can and cannot do, and things like that. So how would that work with, say, James Bond? Well, he goes on to say this. He goes, you wouldn't want to take on a film without being fully committed to what you bring to the table creatively. He's talking about himself, obviously.
Yeah.
So as a writer, casting, everything, it's a full package when you get me, basically is what he's saying. Oh, yeah. He said, you have to be really needed and wanted in terms of bringing the totality of what you bring to the character. Otherwise, I'm very happy just to be the first in line to watch whatever they do. So Christopher Nolan basically just told those in charge of James Bond, hey, I'd love to do James Bond. It would be a privilege. You can see how influenced my movies are. I would love to do it. However, this line again, bringing the totality.
Oh, wow.
The totality. Writer, casting, everything, he says. So what he just basically told them is, number one, I want to do James Bond. But number two, make no mistake, if you bring me over to James Bond, there is one guy calling the shots. And he's got two thumbs pointing towards me.
Oh my God, you brought that back.
What has two thumbs and is directing 007?
This guy. Christopher Nolan is saying there's one guy on the throne. I get to cast the new James Bond.
Throne.
I write the new James Bond. I have the totality, he says, control over it. Now, on one hand, if you're a fan, you could get excited by this because he's saying he would love to do a James Bond. But I'll be honest with you. I don't think the Broccoli family's going to go for it. They're in control of James Bond. And while they may give their directors a lot of leeway, at the end of the day, they're the ones who choose who's going to be the face of James Bond. The Broccoli's are the ones who are going to cast and decide who the next James Bond is. The Broccoli's feel they're going to be, because they are the stewards of this character. And whereas I would be very excited to see Christopher Nolan come in and take over James Bond, I just don't think that what he just laid out as what the conditions would be. One condition, I'm king. And listen, he's earned the right to make demands like that. There's a couple of guys, Scorsese, Spielberg, and Nolan, only a very, very small number, but he's earned that right to walk in and say, hey, I'll do your project, but you hand me the reins and then you let me steer it.
To be fair, though, it's not like he would just be like, I'm going to surprise you about what it's going to be about. I mean, he'd have it all laid out so they could agree or disagree before they, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm sure he would, but I don't even think he would agree to develop his movie until they gave him control. You know what I mean?
Going back to one thing we brought up before, we had talked about the franchise moving forward, and the last arc, it was a very tightly knit arc.
Which is very unusual.
And then
for
we
James
talked
Bond.
about, it's okay to have a loose connection to Spectre or whatever, but they're standalone. And we'd like to go back to that.
Yeah.
However, if Nolan were to get it, I wouldn't be opposed to a tightly wound trilogy.
I agree. Yep, because if he can pull the Batman kind of treatment where, and you know what, in all fairness, the Batman films, all three of them kind of work as standalone films, but they were one continuous story of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Right? And if Christopher Nolan, but here's the thing, if I'm the Broccoli's, here's what I would consider. I would say, okay, I'll consider bringing you in Christopher, and I'll consider even letting you have the creative reins. You get to choose James Bond. But here's the thing. You don't get to pick who's going to be our next James Bond for the next 12 years, and you don't get to do whatever you want with this movie unless we have a multi-film deal with you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean 7 films, but you don't just get to be a hit and run where you pick your James Bond and now we got to live with that James Bond. We want a commitment from you, like The Dark Knight, that you will at minimum do 3 Bond films over the course of the next 7 years.
Yeah.
Or something like that,
5,
right?
But yeah.
And going to your point, Jonathan, the idea of make it a continuous thing. Like, try to make them standalone, but that are also connected with some kind of underlying story that runs throughout. And if I think if Christopher Nolan would agree to do that, because Christopher Nolan's never done a sequel outside of Batman. But I think if Christopher Nolan would agree to that, I think that's something that the Broccoli's and MGM might go for.
I don't see them letting him choose the Bond, though. That's
the big one. That's the big one to get over.
That's the only thing that everything else, like I think you could trust Nolan with a Bond script. I mean, he loves the character. I mean, he's a big fan. I mean, that's a good thing about it. But choosing the Bond part, I'm not sure if that will fly.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I'll tell you what. If Christopher Nolan does get picked up to be the next director of Bond, even though it goes against what the Broccoli said before, because the Broccoli said they want to get somebody in their early to mid 30s to be James Bond, I'm gonna go on a limb right now. I guarantee you who the next Bond will be if Christopher Nolan's the director of it.
Cillian Murphy.
Nope.
I'm just joking.
I'm sure a lot of people think that, but I'm not far off.
Christian Bale.
Tom Hardy.
Bale Bond.
Yeah, I can see Hardy.
I think Tom Hardy would be the next James Bond.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Now, Tom Hardy's a bit outside the age range what to look for because he's mid 40s.
Yeah.
But he's in incredible shape. He's a remarkable actor.
Is there a height requirement for James Bond? Because
is there a height requirement?
He ain't Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah.
He ain't Tom Cruise.
No one ain't.
But I think Christopher Nolan likes to work with people he's used to working with, and I could totally see Tom. Tom. I can see Tom Hardy becoming the next James Bond.
Now, if they say we'll pick the Bond, but you get creative control, whatever, this and that, do you think Nolan would go for that?
Maybe.
I think they could.
I think if they said the one thing that we have to have is we are the stewards, and because their argument could be to Christopher Nolan, look, even if we sign like a 3-film deal, whoever we cast as Bond is the person we got to live with as Bond probably for the next decade or more.
Yeah.
So that's if I'm the Broccoli's, that's the argument I go to Christopher Nolan with. It says like, since we're the ones who have to live with who this Bond is going to be, even after you're done making Bond movies, we should be the ones to make the pick.
But look how long they've taken to even mention any names to be Bond.
Yeah, but that's not unusual for their approach to Bond. They take their time.
Nolan's going to be like 70 by the time they pick their Bond. Maybe they're like, oh, we don't know who it should be. Just pick him for us and do your movies.
Well, we'll see what happens there. A lot of interesting things could come out of this. Okay, guys. with that down, we are now going to go over and take some questions from our YouTube channel members. A little bit earlier, we asked our channel members, as we do every day, to fire in some topics and questions, and we're going to take a bunch of them here. So, Jonathan, what do we got?
Okay, first off, we've got CJ Rebirth rewatching The Adam Project on Netflix, and it's still great. I also think of it still as an alternate sequel to 13 Going on 30, since Jennifer and Mark are the married couple in the movie.
For those of you who don't know, 13 Going on 30, which is a tragically underappreciated movie. Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo end up as a character. And as it turns out, they are the couple in Adam Project. So yeah, you can sort of think of it as a spiritual sequel to 13 Going on 30. You know what? I obviously adore Ryan Reynolds. He's my favorite movie star. He's also, I'm also a bit biased because him and his company Mint Mobile have been our primary sponsors for almost the last 2 years now. So we love the folks at Mint Mobile. But as much as I love Ryan Reynolds, his direct to Netflix stuff, particularly that Red Notice garbage, hasn't necessarily always been great. And so I was kind of nervous about Adam Project. Adam Project's a delightful little movie. It didn't end up being one of my top 10 of the year or anything, but I thought that was a really nice, certainly a good follow-up for a Netflix original to frickin' Red Notice, which was just awful. Not looking forward to the sequel. All apologies, Ryan, but I'm not looking forward to the sequel on that. But Adam Project, you're right. Charming little film. I really enjoy it. If you haven't seen Adam Project, do yourself a favor, go check it out. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Michael, who writes, how much does it cost to switch a release date? Would it have been worth it for Mission Impossible to switch to an August release date without much competition to make more money?
There is a significant amount of money of having to remount and redo an entire advertising campaign. So it is not inexpensive. Also, they pick their release dates for a reason. They believe that this July date was the best window to release this movie. And it's going to make the money that it makes.
And plus, it's Paramount, too. It'd be like, we got Turtles coming in August. They don't want to compete with the Turtles.
No, you got to avoid the $1 billion Turtles. I mean, you got the $1 billion Beetle coming. You got
I hate
the $1 billion.
when you say that because it's like, you can just smell the crap coming out of your mouth.
I'm sorry, did you not come up with the $1 billion Beetle?
It's so mad.
If you say it, you have to mean it.
Okay.
I see.
$1 billion Beetle. Okay, now
I am not being authentic, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm going to use the phrase, I have to get on board with it, is what you're saying. Okay, I got it. All right, what's next?
All right. The Super Ranger mud truck, I think it says. How was Barbie? And after seeing it, do you think Barbie will make close to $100 million opening weekend?
I mean, listen, it doesn't matter how good or bad the movie is. I don't know how it's going to do opening weekend because people don't know it's good or bad until they see it, right? So now I think it's a movie that will do pretty well long term. It's going to have very, very strong word of mouth. People are going to enjoy it. Listen, the projected window they said was 85 to 100. And I do think it's going to come inside that window. I mean, again, if the rest of America is going to be anything like the audience we saw it with last night, that was a hyped, engaged, enthusiastic audience that 90% of them were wearing pink. And some of them, like, it was like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
People were there cosplaying it up like a Star Wars movie. So I could see it doing really, really well this weekend. So yeah, I think that 85 to $100 million window is completely in play. All right, what's next?
All right. Dildar writes, it sucks seeing that there are some people that are happy that the actors and writers are being screwed over, treating them like they're the sole reason why a bad project comes out, and that they don't deserve the residuals and should be replaced by AI people, or people can sometimes suck. Yeah, we have words for those people.
Yeah, they're called stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just an idiot.
Those are people who are insecure and just want to put other people under their boot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like whenever I have a good discussion, well, good writers are good anyway. Do you have any movie you like this year? Oh, yeah, this movie is great. This movie is great. This movie is great. Okay, awesome. You know that was written by a WGA member, right? Well, you got any TV shows that you like? Well, yeah, this show rules and this show rules. This show. Great. You know that all those shows that you love, they're written by WGA writers and acted in by SAG actors and stuff like this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The amount of short-sighted cherry picking there is just kind of eye-rolling. But, there are stupid people out there. All right, what's next?
Heron Epstein writes, sorry if I butchered that name. Hey guys, question for all of you. Do you think the majority of the movies you have seen in your lifetime were good or bad based off a level of enjoyment? Not sure, let's say. Do you think the majority of the movies you've seen in your lifetime were good?
I think it's a bit of a push.
I think good.
I think it's a push to good. I enjoy movies, which means that if a movie is the medium, like a 50, then I'll probably walk away going, I'm glad I watched it, right? That's just me.
Yeah. I could say there are very few films where I was like, that was bad. Like most movies are just like, that was okay, but not bad.
Yeah. You know what? It's like restaurants. Like the vast majority, like, do I think the majority of the restaurants I've gone to are great? No. But the vast majority of the time that I walk into a restaurant, I won't walk out going, well, that food was terrible.
Yeah.
Like maybe I won't go there again or something like that. But like you go to a restaurant, you think, yeah, the food was okay. That was all right. I'm glad I ate it there. I mean, this other restaurants are better. So I think it's kind of the same way. I think, most movies that I watch, not a vast majority, but most movies I watch, I enjoy because I enjoy watching movies.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I thought they were great. And that doesn't mean I thought I loved them. So it's a really difficult thing to nail down.
And for me, I like every movie I've ever seen my whole life.
Every single one. Go Turtles. All right, what's next?
All right, King Daddy Goat. Hey guys, kind of disappointed in Ray. Yeah. I sent in a question on favorite villain turned hero and was waiting patiently for Ray to come out and say the greatness that is Megamind. But he never did. I just sat there in disbelief. How could you, Ray?
But what did I say?
You did say Megamind. I remember you said Megamind.
No, I didn't say Megamind.
It might have been off camera, but somebody said Megamind.
Yeah, I think.
But what did I say? And then you're like, I would never guess you would have said that. I forgot what I said. But yeah, I'm disappointed in myself too. I should have thought of that.
But was Megamind even the villain in that movie at any point?
I mean, they tried.
It's kind of like Despicable Me, right? Because in Despicable Me, what's the character's name?
Gru.
Gru is never really evil, right? I mean, that's the thing. But so I don't know.
I got another one then. Stone Cold Steve Austin, baby.
All right, there we go.
In a movie? What movie?
It doesn't matter.
What
Just
movie?
in life.
The movie of life.
What movie is he a bad guy and then turns good guy?
In real life.
In real life. It's
Professional
Stone Cold
wrestling.
Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right. What's next?
I have no idea.
Right. Bright Guy says, yesterday I saw a question about the best weeping scene. For me, it's Karen Chantel Van Santen in For All Mankind accident episode. Do you guys have a worst death scene ever? Talia al Ghul in Dark Knight Rises was so bad.
Jonathan, that was pretty good though.
So, okay.
Captain Kirk in that one movie. Oh my. Like that was horrible.
That was terrible.
That was so bad.
Yeah. I'm like, this is what you do with Kirk? What was that from All Mankind? Was that after the terrorist explosion?
No. Well,
I don't want to spoil anything, but like, it's an old show.
The first accident.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was good.
But if we're going to go beyond on screen and go in fiction, the worst death ever in fiction.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Some of you may know this, some of you may not. But did you know before Disney took over Star Wars, there was the expanded universe, right? In the Star Wars expanded universe, which thank God they got rid of. I know that's somebody said, what, the expanded universe? No, the expanded universe was 90% garbage with a few shining diamonds in it. But in the expanded universe, did you know they killed Chewbacca?
Oh, I think I remember.
Yeah.
And did you know how they killed Chewbacca?
Favorite weapon.
The moon.
Yeah. Ray's
They
favorite.
literally hit Chewbacca, who described as raising his fists in the air and yelling. They literally hit Chewbacca with a moon. And that's how they killed Chewbacca. It was the stupidest thing. It was really the dumbest thing I'd ever read. Anyway, that's that. All right, what's next?
All right. It may be no surprise if you haven't heard of this, but did you know that Netflix is releasing a film with John Boyega and Jamie Foxx tomorrow?
Yeah.
This will likely be a forgotten remnant as Barbenheimer arrived in full force.
If you're talking about they cloned
Tyrone.
They cloned Tyrone. I've seen it. It's a good little movie. I liked it. Now, 95% of Netflix original movies completely suck. But I think most people are going to get a kick out of this movie. And Boyega's quite good in it. All right, what's next?
All right. Let's see. Did we enjoy? Okay, CJ Rebirth. I enjoyed Barbie, but it's not what I expected going in. To be honest, I had a great time, but it didn't have enough of Will Ferrell. And second half may turn some people off. Ladies will love it though.
I don't think it should have had any more Will Ferrell in it, because he plays the CEO of Mattel. The movie was not about him.
Yep.
He was not a part of that real narrative. He was in it for a bit for good, solid comic relief, and he was very effective in it for what he was. But I think if they had just more of that, it would have started getting tired. So I think they used him the perfect amount. And the second half, I think if you're not an insecure little mushroom, I don't think there's really anything like, again, I just think it was very pro-women and very actively dealing with the struggles of being a woman without it being anti-men. I mean, yes, they made jokes about men for sure. It wasn't fun. And if I think if you're remotely a secure male, it isn't going to impact you or make you take offense in any stretch of the imagination. If you want an insecure, fragile little mushroom meter, see if any guys actually react to it in Barbie, because it was the very little of it that there was in fun and joking and laughing. Really, it was just really focusing on the struggles and the difficulties of being a woman in today and what that means, and even bigger existential questions about life for everybody.
Quite frankly, it's not like a statement that they're saying whatever. If they did say anything about men in the movie, it's not like they're saying that's like the truth. It's just how they.
No, it was done in fun. It was all done in satire and joking.
See things, you know what I mean?
I will say this though. There are Snyder Cut fans who are really going to have their panties shoved way up their assholes when they come out of this movie. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to tell which ones, because they're going to be walking out of the movie. They're going to be walking out of the movie with me. They were really, really mad. Again, that's not me saying that Snyder Cut fans should. I'm just saying there is a pretty direct joke in the movie that is pretty targeted, that maybe they should or shouldn't have left in there, but whatever they did.
Oh, they leave it in there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I might have taken that joke out. I won't say what the joke was, but I mean, I might have taken, personally, if I was an exec over there at the studio, I may have taken the joke out. But they left it in, and I think it's really going to upset some people. But whatever.
Yeah, the small amount of Snyder fanatics that go see this film.
By the way, you know what? Let me rephrase that a bit. I think there were a lot of Snyder Cut fans who are going to get a good laugh out of it too.
Yeah, that's...
I think, you know what? Let me rephrase. I think the majority of Snyder Cut Justice League fans are going to hear the joke and have a really good laugh. I think there are a segment of Snyder Cut proponents that are going to, like I said, get their panties all balled up their assholes.
Emotionally maladjusted.
Get really, really upset. But I think the majority of them are going to take it in good fun and have a good laugh. I still personally wouldn't have kept the joke in the movie, but it is what it is. All right, what's next?
For those emotionally maladjusted.
Yeah.
JK writes, already with tickets for Oppenheimer at 1500, that's 3 p.m. In Dolby, and Barbie at 2100 in premium, that's 9 p.m. Yeah.
So you already bought 2 sets of tickets to see Oppenheimer on the same day?
Yeah.
Good night. I've only ever done that for major franchise films, whether it's Star Wars or like a Marvel film or something like that.
That's not bad. That's a 3-hour break between films.
Yeah. Well, it's good because it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a good breather between that. But I hope you don't walk into it the first time and then hate it. Hope you like it the first time you see it.
And without even seeing Oppenheimer yet, I'm actually glad that I saw Barbie first. And I don't know why I'm saying that, but I just have a feeling that order, because I've been saying that's the order I want to see it in.
Yeah.
It actually feels like it's going to work out.
All right. What's next?
JJ Wallace writes, James Gunn often casts the same actors in many of his films, and now can't get the idea of Michael Rooker as Perry White out of my head.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I love Michael Rooker. I don't think he would make a good Perry White. I don't think he would. I mean,
what's the matter with you, boy?
Yeah. See, I just like, okay, this is going to sound strange. I could see him more as a certain version of J. Jonah Jameson than I could see him as a Perry White. You know what I mean? But I mean, make no mistake, somewhere in that movie, Michael is going to pop up in the new Superman movie, even if it's just as a cameo or as a small role or something like that. But I don't know. I don't see him as Perry White, but now that you've said it, I won't be surprised at all if James Gunn doesn't cast him in the role.
It was Lawrence Fishburne, right? In Snyder's?
In Snyder's
I thought
version
he was
of
a great Perry White.
Yeah,
Lawrence
I mean,
Fishburne.
it's just he carries the type of aura that I think a Perry White would have. Michael's got a different tone, right? That I don't see as a good fit. But again, who knows? There's many, many, many different ways to.
He's going to play Jonathan Kent.
To cut a
You're my
pizza.
son, boy.
You're my son, boy. All right, what's next?
Jacob Hirsch writes, I find it interesting that Jury Duty is nominated for Best Comedy rather than Limited Series. If they were to make a second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. seasons, what kind of setting would you want to see them do?
I mean, what other setting can you do?
Wouldn't it be all jury duties?
And here's the problem, too. Take Impractical Jokers.
Yeah, it's like one of those things.
Because like with Impractical Jokers, I just don't understand. Like, it's got to be getting increasingly difficult for them to do it because more and more people recognize them now, right? So I think after Jury Duty, the moment you walk in to go jury duty, if all of a sudden Jennifer Lawrence is on the panel, you're instantly gonna be suspicious. Okay, this is Jury Duty season 2 or something like that, right?
That might be a one and done as well.
It might be a one and done. I don't know if you can do a second. I mean, listen, apparently it was really inexpensive to make. It was clearly a big hit. It's been nominated for Emmys. James Marsden himself has been nominated.
Heck yeah, man. He was so good.
By the way, that stuff with the toilet, oh my God, I almost choked. I laughed so hard at that. Like it was already there. James Marsden, was already there.
It was already there.
How he didn't break character ever
is beyond me. It's totally beyond me. I don't know that they actually do a second season. I don't know.
No, keep that as a one and done.
Yeah.
A little treasure for everyone to watch for years and years to come. Because it also shows us our judicial system, you know how it works.
Sort of.
Like, I mean, it gives you
sort of.
because that guy they picked, he's never been on jury duty, I think, before.
He still has never been on jury duty.
Yeah, still hasn't been on jury. Oh, and by the way, like there's another actor in that jury that I totally recognized. The guy with the mustache, he was a semi-regular on Parks and Rec. He was the guy that sent his dick pic to all the female all the female workers and the one that threw the pie in the guy's face. He was in like 8 or 9 or whatever episodes of Parks and Rec. It's like, that's the dude from Parks and Rec. How did they not recognize him?
I've seen that guy do stand-up before too.
Oh, I've never seen him do stand-up. He's really funny on Parks and Rec, and he was quite good in Jury Duty too. All right, we got time for one more. What's next? I
was gonna ask this, but I think this one is a little spoiler if we answer about Secret Invasion.
Skip anything about Secret Invasion.
Sorry, I skipped. So Jesse has a turtle. I'm not sure why, but I keep getting rude people who just go to the movies to talk. I've already told the front desk twice now, and while it was corrected both times, I'm not sure what else to do. I want to see them like I'm just a dude complaining, or he doesn't want to seem like he's just a dude complaining all the time to the staff.
Like I mean, everybody's got a different level of sensitivity when it comes to this, and none are right, none are wrong. Like mine is, I honestly don't mind people talking a little bit in theaters if they are clearly making an effort to be not to be disruptive.
Yeah, I mean, it just something happens, you got to say something.
Yeah, when somebody's leaning over to the next door neighbor and going, hey, da, 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 da. It's like if I can clearly see they're not trying to be a disruption and stuff like that, it honestly doesn't bother me so much. It's when people start like straight up talking out loud and blah blah. It's like, come on, guys.
And it's not even about the movie. It's like, can you believe he did that to me? I mean, I can't even believe. And it's like, can you believe you're doing this to me?
Or even if it is about the movie, unless you're laughing out loud. Everybody's got different levels of sensitivity. Again, I don't know if I'm just the luckiest guy in the world when it comes to the movie theaters I've gone into. I'd say it's maybe 1 out of every 50 experiences that I go into the movie that there's actually a visible problem, where somebody's phone kept going off, or somebody had a baby crying and they just stayed there and the baby just kept crying, or people talking out loud just kept talking out. Maybe 1 out of every 50 times I go to the movies. But some people we hear from on here, it sounds like it happens to them like every second time they go.
I think it's like a regional cultural thing because we're in Los Angeles,
which is a movie city.
But like, maybe if we were in Toledo, people or whatever, people are like, well, you just hang out and talk. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't listen. I really think, look, AMC, to their credit, they have this thing goes, remember, people come to see the movies.
Yeah.
Don't talk. Don't text. Don't disrupt your whatever, right? They do a little pre-recorded message. And that's good. Alamo Drafthouse, in as many problems as I have with them as a company, Alamo Drafthouse, I really prefer their approach.
They come in with shock batons.
Well, practically,
Yeah.
because what they do, they put up I remember last time I was in Alamo Drafthouse, they had Ethan Hawke and Judy Tepley, the one who's in the Before Midnight, After Midnight, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, right? They had the two of them, and it looked like they were acting out a scene in a movie.
Right.
And they're doing this scene for like 5 seconds, and then you hear this faint phone ringing. And Judy Tepley stops, looks at the camera. Has somebody got the fucking phone on? And it's just like, and then they just go off. Why the fuck would you come to the movie theater and talk out loud and not turn off your phone? Like, they are like really in your face about it. They don't just suddenly go, hey, remember guys, don't talk, don't text. Blah. No. They get famous actors on screen to go, what the fuck are you doing? And I think movie theater should be more like that. Maybe not the cursing, but be like really more in your face. Hey guys, my name's Tom Hanks. Like, thank you for coming to the movie theater. And if you pull out your phone during this movie, you're a dick. Keep your phone in your pants, like, or something like that.
It's weird because like theater plays, like you know, the live plays and stuff, you would never have that problem.
No. Anne's got season tickets to the Pantages, so I go to see a bunch of shows with her. Never have a problem with that.
People
never
need to start
have
acting
a problem
like that, I guess. You know what I mean? Because
But
people
again-
are spending their money. They want to pay attention to what they spent
Yeah,
their money
but
on.
again, I very rarely have a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind, like, some people are a stickler. I don't mind if you've got your light all the way down on your screen and you're just like, hey, in a movie, we'll talk later, phone away. It's for a second. But if you're just bright and you're literally just texting the whole movie or whatever, it's like, come on, you didn't come here to see a movie.
Because you're in that dark room, all of a sudden this bright white light 3 rows in front of you
and
keeps
you
coming
can,
on. It's like
you can
it pulls
dim
you
that.
out.
You can hold it in your coat. There's things you can seal if there's an emergency.
There are things you can do.
Yeah.
But again, I say this all the time. Unless you have the letters DR period before your name, nobody needs you that quickly. Well, what if there's an emergency? Guess what? For 1900 years, we were able to go to the movies. John, the movies haven't been learned that long. I know. But like up until the 2000s, everybody went to the movies and couldn't be reached for 2 hours. You cannot be reached for 2 hours.
Well, and even if you did have to be, you could just walk out to the side.
Yeah,
Like, sometimes I've had to do that.
Anyway.
There was an emergency. I got up. I went out of the theater.
I remember yesterday was the official 5-year anniversary of Schnepp passing away. And I remember he hadn't passed away yet, but he was things were bad. He was in the hospital, and I was in my screening of Dwayne Johnson's the Tower movie he was in.
Skyscraper.
Skyscraper, thank you.
I want to say Tower Inferno, but yeah, Skyscraper.
And that whole afternoon, like me, Dennis, Christian, Rob, like we were all like texting each other a lot, right? Back and forth about sharing updates with each other and all that kind of stuff. So I made the decision that I picked a seat that was right by the exit. And so when the vibration would go off, and it was up near the back. So when a vibration would go off in my pocket with the phone, I knew just get up, slip into the hallway.
Right.
Just slip into the hallway so I could pull my phone out. Now, granted, I had to do that 3 or 4 times, and maybe me getting up and down a couple times became a little bit distracting, but it was a lot less distracting than me pulling up my phone going right?
It's no one's. If you're on the aisle of the steps going and coming, it's no one's business. You got to come and go. That happens.
Yeah. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to our YouTube channel members for sending in those questions. Number 1, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number 2, by being a YouTube channel member, you support our channel. So thank you guys so much for being part of our YouTube channel member community. Don't forget, guys, to come on back tomorrow. I will be doing the John Campea Show podcast tomorrow. It's just going to be me because I'm giving the guys the day off. Big thank you to Ray Ora.
Yep.
Jonathan Voico.
See you later.
My name's John Campea. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.